Welcome to the Enchanted Ears podcast,
where we discuss anything and everything Disney.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Joe, and on today's episode, we are recapping our recent cruise on the Disney Wish.
Yes.
If our clothing attire did not give it away.
See mine.
Yours is from Castaway Cay.
Yeah, mine is from Castaway Cay. I just like that Mickey is riding a bicycle. I thought it was really cute.
Yes. Yeah, it's nice. That's a nice
It's
shirt.
real comfy. Like, I love t-shirts. Like, long sleeve t-shirts are my thing, and this one has a really nice feel to it. But I was about to get what you got, but then I figured I could just steal yours.
Well, this is the special. This is the Ashley Eckstein.
Yeah, she designed it.
designed it. Sweatshirt.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Disney Wish.
I like the depiction of Mickey and Minnie. I am kind of jealous I didn't get one though. I sort of could. I should have.
We just have to go back. We'll just have to go back on the
darn.
Disney Wish and get another one.
Agreed.
Yeah, so we're gonna recap. We're gonna split this into two parts. So this week we will recap kind of the whole experience on the Wish. It was a 3-night journey. I almost said adventure. It was kind of an adventure. On the Wish to
it was almost
the Bahamas.
too short to be an adventure.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So we'll recap all of that. This was our first Disney cruise.
This was your first cruise.
Yeah, this was my first cruise. Period. In general.
Yeah, but my last one was when I was in like 8th grade or
it's
something.
It's been quite a while. So
yeah.
basically, it's our first cruise. So we'll kind of talk on that, and then next week we will talk about Castaway Cay in more detail. We'll touch on it a little bit this week, but it was a great part of the trip, and there's a lot of like history behind that island in general, which is kind of interesting. So we'll dig deep into that on next week's show.
Sounds good.
All right, but before we get into that, let's cover the Disney news of the week. So Disney announced, or it came out, that their Disneyland Forward project that they've had for a few years now, that they've been talking about, is moving forward. And, and I do feel like, I mean, there's a lot of, obviously, like, clickbait is like a thing on the internet to kind of get clicks on stuff. Like, I saw a lot of reports of like, Disneyland's expanding, like this is happening. And while it's a positive step in that direction, nothing's like official yet. All that happened is the Anaheim City Council kind of planning commission voted to move Disney's proposal to the full Anaheim Council for a vote. So it's a good step. I mean, I think it's probably likely that they, vote on it and allow it. And then Disney also has to then build this stuff that they're kind of saying. Yeah. But this vote doesn't mean Disney can go out tomorrow now and build another theme park in Disneyland or do any that sort of stuff, which I feel like some headlines are kind of making it seem like, but it's a good step in the right direction.
Well, and the other thing is, it is sort of unclear what this project actually is. I mean, like, you've had some allusions that there is going to be like a park that is Avatar themed over in Disneyland. Like, they're going to get their own avatar. So there's talk about...
that's a whole other thing. I mean, Bob Iger said it's going to be a land. Disney walked it back the next day and was like, hold up, it might not be a land. It might be an experience. So who knows what's even going to happen. And that's the thing with Disney too. Like, I feel like we're at a point until they actually build
everything is blue sky.
Yeah, everything's blue sky.
Everything.
But what the Disneyland Forward is, basically, it's Disney wants flexibility for how they develop the property they own at Disneyland. So what they've talked about is basically, like, in between like downtown Disney and the Disneyland Hotel, there's that area there that they could use for expansion. There's also the Toy Story parking lot, which is off property a little bit. I mean, it's like a mile or two away, not too far. But talking about like redeveloping that. And that almost seems like, according to the concept art, like almost a new downtown Disney, where it's shops, it's entertainment, that sort of stuff. And I almost think, like, I wonder if they're going to move downtown Disney down there so that way they can use downtown Disney to then expand the theme parks into that section by the Disneyland Hotel. And whether it's a third theme park or just an expansion of the existing ones. But what they talked about is they want flexibility because the, zoning there now, I guess, is very rigid of like, it's either a hotel space or it's a theme park space or it's an entertainment space, where, as we know now, themed entertainment is very integrated. So hotels being a part of the theme parks are a thing, immersive entertainment with dining and entertainment. So they basically want to have the ability to do like multi-use things. So, a theme park with a hotel, that sort of stuff. So that's what they're looking for, and that's what the council needs to vote on to allow them to do this. They talked about that they're going to spend like maybe $2 billion is what they talked about, maybe upwards of like $2.6 billion building this out, which doesn't seem like enough for a full theme park. So I think that's the other thing to kind of like temper your expectations on what we're actually going to get. But it does sound like if this goes through, I mean, there will be some sort of expansion at Disneyland, which I think is good.
I almost do think that like what you said about moving like downtown Disney to this area so that you have an area that's close to the parks that they could use to expand, that's probably likely like the most likely thing that they're going to do with it.
Yeah.
So it'll be way down the road that you're going to get the expansion because they have to move everything over. They'll have to develop that land and then move everything over. And then finally, then they'll have that open vacant space. They're going to have to demolish everything and then start building.
Yeah, I mean, the agreement would go through 2064. So it'd obviously give Disney a lot of time to kind of build this out. I do think it makes sense that they're looking at Disneyland for expansion, though, as opposed to Walt Disney World, because I think Walt Disney World needs more in terms of just like maintenance and upkeep on sort of things. Like they don't need another park. I think they just need to invest in what they have. Whereas, Disney's talked about the theme parks are still very profitable for them. But you figure if you built a third park or you expanded the existing parks where now you have to go for an extra day to do everything, you can then drive more people, like at Disney World, where you bring vacation goers who now want to stay multiple days. So that keeps hotels busy. That keeps, a new downtown shopping district busy. And so it makes sense where it's like Disneyland is kind of following the blueprint now that Disney World did in the 90s when it went from 2 parks to 4 parks and hotels and that sort of thing.
It is interesting because I really do think of Disneyland as more of like that local park, and it doesn't seem to really draw like the foreign crowd or your East Coasters as much even. So building more over in Disneyland and getting them over to Walt's Park would be advantageous to them too, because it would relieve maybe some of the pressure off of Disney World and get people kind of going, traveling a little bit further to California. And then that I think would work well for the company in general, because then maybe it would ease up some of the problems that Disney World kind of runs into because of it's being really crowded lately.
Oh yeah, I don't know that it's an either or thing. I mean,
yeah,
I think they want everybody. I think they want everybody that goes to Disney World and then more people to go to Disneyland.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, Disneyland gets really crowded too. So I don't know, but it's just an idea. It's a thought.
Yeah. So we'll see. Again, it's got to go to the full council for a vote. And then, obviously Disney has to build this. So, I mean, it's years down the road before anything really happens. But, again, a good first step. So, all right. So, let's get into our main topic here, our recap of our recent voyage on the Disney Wish. Like we said, this was a 3-night voyage on the Wish. It went to Nassau and Castaway Cay. We left from Port Canaveral. And, again, this was our first Disney cruise. My first cruise, basically your first cruise here. Kind of like break it out into sections here, but kind of just starting with like the pre-boarding process, kind of into the boarding process here. So we talked with Becky a few months ago about kind of like what to expect on your first Disney cruise. And we got into some of the stuff to like expect and think about, but there was definitely more as going through it, again, as a first timer, that like we didn't necessarily discuss. So I think it's helpful to bring up if you've never been on a Disney cruise, like what to kind of expect going into it.
And one thing to sort of, mention before we even talk about like that boarding on, like getting on the ship process, is we actually took Disney transportation from All-Star, where were we at? All-Star Movies. Mm-hmm. And so we took the bus from All-Star Movies to the ship. I mean, it was probably like 45 minutes or so.
It was like an hour and
a half. I don't know. It didn't seem like very long because it basically was like the Magical Express. You had TVs that had, some entertainment on them. Now it was probably only like 45 minutes to an hour of entertainment before it looped back to the beginning, but that did make it go a lot faster. I enjoyed the trip. It didn't stop at a lot of places. I think we stopped one other place after we got picked up.
We just stopped at one of the other All-Stars.
Right.
Yeah, it was like we stopped
at,
I
think, Sports or something.
Yeah.
And then we were on our way. So I thought overall that was a really positive experience. So if you're talking about doing that and you're not sure whether what you want to do,
that was nice. And taking the bus, it's $78 a person round trip. So we took it to the cruise, and we also took it from the cruise back to the airport as well, which was nice. The benefit also of taking Disney transportation is your arrival time is set. So that's one of the things to kind of like keep in mind. So before you go on the cruise, you have to check in. You can check in like 30 days beforehand. Some of the things to keep in mind is you're going to need, and again, this is for at least the cruise we took. I imagine if you were maybe like the Alaska cruise, you wouldn't need a passport or something. Like if you're doing it where it's always just in America. Yeah, but because it was international, you need your passport to check in, and then you also need a recent photo. So you have to make sure you have like a photo on your phone or like your computer that you're uploading it, and then take a picture of your passport, because you have to upload both of those in order to be able to even check in online. The thing is, if you're not taking Disney transportation, people try to check in like the minute it goes live, because the earlier check in, the earlier the arrival time you get, so that you can get on the ship sooner. Since we're taking Disney transportation, they basically have your arrival time, because they pick you up. Like I think we got picked up around like 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and our arrival time to go on the ship was like 11:45. So it was already kind of set. That was nice. The thing too, like you said, with Magical Express, is they take your luggage. Now this was a little bit like iffy for me, because they come and take your luggage it was like 7 a.m. I think.
Yeah, that was the one that they took it early in the morning.
Yeah,
because we actually went out for a run that morning. But it was weird because it was at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was worried about making sure I grabbed everything that I needed, because if you sent the wrong thing, then I would have been missing part of my outfit and then not be able to like dress correctly.
Right. And this was kind of like a common theme, I feel like, in our experience, where like we didn't get luggage tags mailed to our house beforehand, and so like we didn't have any tags to put on our luggage. I did get an email beforehand about like they're gonna pick your luggage up, but it wasn't necessarily like I didn't know was that, hey, that's just like a nice service they have, or that's required. But they called us in the morning and they said, do you have any luggage, because we take it now, because you can't take your like if you take it with you on the bus, you have to carry it around on the ship. So
it takes them a while to turn those rooms over, because when you dock and you disembark, they're working feverishly to clean up your room for the next voyage to take off.
Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, our luggage, that's what I was going to say too, is our luggage, we picked it up at 7 and we didn't get it until like 3:30 on the ship. Like it took quite a long time to actually get it back. But you obviously want to keep a bag with like your passport, all of your ID and stuff in it. But like if you have like check luggage, bigger bags, if you take them with you on the bus, you have to carry them through the whole time. So that wasn't like super clear like in the email beforehand. So I'm glad they called and said, hey, do you have anything? And they kind of explained it of like what's going to happen. And I said, hey, we don't have luggage tags. Like, that's no problem. So like that was okay. But I do feel like in a lot of aspects, and we'll get into some other stuff, where like the communication on the cruise of like when things happen, what you have to do, where you have to be,
it wasn't lacking.
It wasn't the best.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. There were many places where that happened. It happened to us before we left too. The other weird thing about that was they called us in the morning, and like we're so used to it in real life, like, oh, my phone is ringing, it's not somebody that I know, I'm not going to answer it. You are like hesitant to answer, and I'm like, dude, we're in a hotel, answer the phone, because it's probably somebody that we need to talk to. And so luckily we answered it, because if not, we would have missed it. So if your phone rings in the morning and you're like doing a Disney cruise and you don't really know what you're supposed to do, make sure you answer the phone. The other thing is, we could have been out at breakfast. We could have been on a run. Like, we could have missed that call, and then we would have had to bring our luggage with us, and we had a big carry-on and stuff.
Yeah, and you don't want to walk that around, because your room's not ready until 1:30. Right. So, we got on the ship. And I will say, security was super quick. Yeah. We got through security quickly. That was a breeze. But like, you get on the ship at maybe like 12:30 by the time you get through security. and your room's not ready until 1:30. So you could be walking around with all your luggage for, an hour or so. So yeah, it's definitely beneficial to use that if you can.
Yeah, I would also really suggest, because you have to part with your luggage so early. I mean, probably most people do this, but like a backpack is really useful. Taking a large backpack with you to be that item that you take with you and carry around the ship until your room is ready. That way, if you did want to go on, like, say, the AquaMouse, like, you could put your swimsuit in there, and you can put anything else that you might need, sunglasses, just things that you want to make sure you have access to pretty, like, immediately.
Yeah, I would suggest
that.
As soon as we got on, we got lunch, because again it was like 12:30. So if you get on, you eat, it's 1:30 pretty quick. It's not like you're going to need to carry around a bag a lot, but to your point, like a backpack, something like that's easier to get on. It is nice, like they take a picture of you beforehand, like as you're getting on the ship. They had really nice like backdrops. I will say they have a lot of PhotoPass photographers for like the characters and stuff, but every night they had like professional backdrops set up that were professionally lighted. The photographer was there, so they were really nice photos, because sometimes in the park, like you're dealing with
it depends
you're dealing
on
with the
light,
sun
yeah.
and the lighting and all that sort of stuff. Like they have everything perfect, so it's a very consistent photo, which I thought was really nice. And so they do one of these when you get on the ship.
That's actually
as well.
one of my favorite photos, like us and our friends, because we also purchased matching Hawaiian outfits.
Yep.
So we all of us looked really cute in our outfits, first of all, and we got tons of compliments on them because they were basically Hawaiian, but then they also had Star Wars on them. So like the Death Star and Vader and Grogu and stuff on them. So that's like one of my favorite photos. But like you said, that the photos I thought were really like
they were good. Yeah, they were good photos. So you can buy a photo package, so you can like Memory Maker, you can pay beforehand and get all of the photos on your trip, which is what we did. So we got everything we took. You can also just buy individual photos. So they'll take all of the photos. You have to purchase them before you leave the ship, though. So you can go on, there's like kiosks, and you can buy which ones you want.
And they're
stingy. If you want to do that as well.
They're stingy about that photo package, because if you are
it's one room. So yeah, like you can't share it across rooms or anything like that. It's just for your one room.
Anytime our friends and us, like, we went to go get our photos taken, they ask about, where are they staying? They ask if they were staying in the same room as us and stuff. So yeah, that was interesting, because I feel like, in the parks, it's not quite like that. If you're with friends, like they would they
don't know, they just kind of take whatever. But yeah, it's one stateroom there. So, and then at 1:30 your room's ready, you get your keys to the world card. And this was something else where like kind of got mixed messaging on, because we had it's called Disney Band Plus on the ship. It's basically the Magic Band Pluses. It's the same thing. You can use them interchangeably. They just call them Disney Band Pluses. But you kind of got mixed messaging on, do you just need the Disney Band Plus? Do you need your keys to the world card? Like they said, anytime you leave the ship and come back on, you need an ID and your keys to the world card. I did hear them one time say, or your Disney Band Plus. I think when we came on, we used the Disney Band Plus. It worked. We didn't need it. And I think that's kind of pretty new. Like, I think just the Wish has that. Maybe they're retrofitting some of the other ones. So it could just be like they don't know, and just to be safe, you need it. But like we got the Disney Band Plus thinking, hey, this is all we're going to need. But ended up carrying the keys to the world card, because I was like, it sounds like we may need these. We
weren't sure, and we didn't want to get stuck anywhere, not have it. And so you carried it around for us.
I mean, it wasn't hard. I mean, it's a little card.
It's literally your room key is what the keys to the world card is. Yeah. But so that was weird.
Yeah, like I said, just kind of going to the mixed messaging of like, I don't actually know
if
we needed it all the time or not. The one thing you did need it for, but I don't even know if you needed it for that, because whenever they do like the muster drill, you can scan in with your band. So it's weird. I don't know whether you need it or not. The only thing you need on the keys to the world card is just like what station you go to.
The only thing that we absolutely had to have that keys to the world card for was for using the spa, because they put a special sticker on our keys to the world card that let them know that we paid to do the spa for the whole time, and then we would take that with us so that they could like know that we belonged there.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into like an overview of like the ship and the room. So the spa's a good start. We did get the trip length spa pass to use the Rainforest room, which I thought was really nice. They have a steam room, a sauna, a cold room, which is more like a refrigerator room.
Yeah, it was like 50 some degrees. Like we went in there and we're like, this feels kind of like, back home.
Yeah.
It's not that cold, and I don't know, but it was still cool. I liked it.
But the heated lounge chairs.
Oh my goodness.
Now you are somebody who's always talked about being like a lizard person.
I am a lizard.
Not like an alien lizard person.
Not one of the people that apparently rule the world, according to some.
But somebody that's like a lizard, like you like laying in the sun,
I'm just
being
very
warm.
cold, like, and to the point where I feel like I'm cold-blooded.
And I've never necessarily been like that. So I was like, okay, it's a heated chair. Like you were all excited about it. I was like, it's okay, let me try it. I loved it. I was like, I wonder how much these things cost. Can I get one at my house? Like, this is great. You could just lay there. You could fall asleep on it. Phenomenal.
What it was basically like a stone chair. So it wasn't padded or anything,
right,
but
lounge
it was a
chair.
Stone lounge chair that then had heating in it, and it
Tremendous.
felt
Tremendous.
phenomenal. You were able to utilize the spa more than I am because
because
I'm
the
a
chairs-
woman and it takes me longer to get ready.
The chairs were so great. I kept going back and I was like, I'm just gonna go. Just like, I went into I like the steam room. I'm not a huge fan of saunas, but I do like the steam room. Went in
I'm
there,
opposite.
and I was like, you know what? I just went like 15, 20 minutes, like a nice little relaxing on the heated chair. It was great. That's why I kept going back. I'm like, I gotta go lay on these chairs. This is amazing. So I'm all in now. I guess I'm a lizard person too.
They were pretty nice. And like the sauna was also really nice. I do like doing like the hot cold therapy. I do wish the cold room was a little bit colder.
Yeah.
And also I actually tend to like when they didn't have this, but I mean, it's on a ship, so I don't expect that. But I do like when they have like a cold plunge pool with a jacuzzi.
Yeah, do like a whole plunge.
So that you can go back and forth. I always think that that's really refreshing. It makes you feel really good. They didn't quite have we didn't have the ability to really do that contrast.
I will say the nice thing about the spa and like the Rainforest Pass, one, as soon as you go on the ship, you can take a tour of it. Like they'll let you tour the spa.
And they immediately try to upsell you.
Yeah, but they only sell so many passes. So it's not like it's overcrowded. Like every time I went, it wasn't like, oh, I had to wait to get a chair or I had to wait to use it. Like there were always maybe 5 or 6 people in there, but it can hold, probably 50 people at any given time. So like there was definitely more than enough space in there, which was nice. So it's not like they're overselling it and then you can never really use the amenities. So that made it nice as well.
I mean, and the other nice part about it is you might be, back in the ladies area and get mistaken for Dr. Jen from the magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom.
That did happen to you.
That did happen to me. And it was really cool because I ended up meeting a penguin trainer.
Yeah.
So
who worked with Dr. Jen.
Yeah, who worked with Dr. Jen. So shout out to Debbie was her name. And also Dr. Jen. If you ever listen, I guess we look alike.
Come on the show.
Come on the show, please.
On the show. But just kind of like talking about the ship really quick. I think it's very easy to get lost on that ship. I found myself like, I knew where kind of stuff was, but you can get turned around very quickly. The other thing I was kind of surprised by, and again, this was my first experience, so all of this is kind of new to me, is I feel like there would have been more outdoor space.
Yeah, that felt odd to me too.
Yeah, like I felt very much like I'm always indoors. I'm not seeing the outside that often. I thought like the atrium would be a little bit bigger, grander type thing. So, I got used to it as kind of time went on, but like there were a lot of like outdoor space that was like, you can't go here. And so it took a little bit of time to find like, where's the deck where you can go outside, that sort of thing. So that I was a little bit surprised by. I will say overall, the rooms were very nice. We had a veranda room. I thought it was like very spacious. It had, I mean, it wasn't huge, but it used the space so well. It had a ton of storage space to it. And then having that veranda, having the light come in was really nice.
Well, also, I mean, part of the amazing part of your room and what made it feel so big is we had it's your room attendant. So Jolix was ours, and he kept our room. Like I really didn't realize this happened, but I'm a slob. I'd change clothes, I'd throw them on the bed, and I'm like, I'll deal with it later. No, I would not, because Jolix did, and he would fold them up real nice for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I need this like all the time. But
so the service was great.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
The towel animals, you kept putting your sunglasses on.
Oh my gosh,
everywhere.
I left my sunglasses out, and he kept finding them.
For it. He was like, thank you for leaving your sunglasses out so I could keep using them.
Yeah, they were pretty cute. Like he made some really cute stuff, and then they had personality because he kept putting my sunglasses on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed that. But yeah, the room felt really like, it wasn't huge, but it felt spacious because, again, like
it was a good use of space.
There was a good use of space, and we had a little deck area, which was really nice. Definitely that was where I sort of felt, there's like little points where I feel a little bit of regret about that trip because it was so short. I would have loved to have spent more time out on that deck and like just kind of staring at the water, or even up on the top deck, just looking out into the ocean. I did try to get up for the sunrise on the last day, but we were already docked. So, and then there was like the shipyard. So where the sun was coming up, like there was a like big machinery kind of in the way, which sort of like ruined that one a little bit. But yeah, that's definitely something that next time, we go on a Disney cruise, I definitely want to wake up early. We were just so busy and out later.
We need more
I didn't
days.
Want to.
Yeah. I think 3 days was pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then just real quick again, if you're new to Disney cruises, new to going on cruises, obviously you don't have like cell service at sea, but Disney's, you can pay for Wi-Fi if you want to like stream and do all that sort of stuff, but they have free Wi-Fi on the ship. So iMessage works. WhatsApp works. Like if you're an Android, you don't have iMessage, you can use WhatsApp, which is nice. So you can still kind of text, communicate. There also the Disney Cruise Line app has
there's like a texting
thing in it as well. Like if you don't have anything, but if you need to text somebody that's like not on the cruise, if you both have Apple, if you both have WhatsApp, like that works, which is nice that they allow that. So, all right, so let's get into the shows. So every night at the Walt Disney Theater, which is kind of like a Broadway style theater, they have shows there. So the first night was Disney Seas the Adventure, which was basically, Captain Minnie was in it, but not really. It ended up being more about Goofy in the end.
It was really about how Minnie is the captain of the ship. Yeah. And I say that to our podcast listeners in air quotes because she left the helm every chance that she got and was trying to encourage.
Because Mickey was still the captain.
Yeah, like even in some of the shows, I'm like, dude, if you're making a big deal about Minnie being the captain, can you please give her some responsibility here?
Yeah, it kind of felt a lot like Mickey's PhilharMagic in the parks where it's called Mickey's PhilharMagic, but it's really about like Donald going through Disney movies. That's kind of what it was like. It was like Mickey's PhilharMagic at sea, where Minnie's there and she's like, hey, Goofy, I need to go do something.
She's trying to encourage Goofy to feel like he can be the captain of the ship.
And so he basically goes through just different like Disney movies.
That's a good comparison.
So it's basically Goofy and Disney songs. So there's Frozen, Brave, Hercules was in it. It was a really good show. I mean, I thought it was a good show. I thought all the shows were good. I actually thought they got better.
Yeah.
I think the way they programmed it was good because like they probably started again, that one, if you have kids, I mean, we loved it, but that definitely I feel like is geared more towards maybe younger audience just because you have Goofy and and then as you grow, because especially like with Aladdin, I mean, some of the jokes with like the genie, like the kids aren't going to get all the jokes that happen. So I think it kind of builds progressively. But overall, I mean, I thought it was a solid show.
Yeah, I thought that was it was a good one, but I agree with you. Like the next night when we saw The Little Mermaid, I thought that one was better. And then I started to, notice some of the dancers and which ones were really
because it's the same cast.
Yeah, it's the same.
Every night, it's the same
and they
cast.
mix around.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like in one show, somebody who is a backup dancer, you realize like, oh, they can sing really well. And
they're the lead the next night.
They're the lead the next night. Yeah. So like my boy Mo never got to be the lead, but his dancing was so spectacular. And again, his name. I assume his name was Mo because the first night
some of them had because they were dressed like cast members.
They were dressed like cast members
like
on
the
ship.
boat. Yeah.
And so he had a tag that said
so maybe his name
Mo.
Was Mo. Yeah.
So every night then it became a theme. I kept being like, oh my gosh, look at Mo. Like the next night when he was in The Little Mermaid, he was a dancing puppet turtle and he just that turtle, I could just watch an entire show of Mo
Mo
dancing.
had moves. Mo
He
had
was
moves.
so good. So, again, if you're for somebody who like works for the cruise line, you know who Mo is, tell him we're singing his praises because he was awesome. I kept looking for him every night to see what he was doing.
Well, I put a comment because they ask you at the end, like they
Yeah.
have like a comment card, and they're like, "Were there any cast members that made your time enjoyable?" And I was like, "Mo was great.
Mo.
Like, yeah, Mo, like he killed it in the show." So the Little Mermaid was the second night.
Mhm.
It was a retelling, pretty much. I mean, I think they changed a little bit, but it's a basic.
Well, I think it was more
retelling.
of the live action movie retelling.
Yeah. And the shows are only like an hour, so obviously it's not like the whole thing. They don't do every song, that sort of thing. I thought it was good. The Little Mermaid isn't my favorite.
You're not, yeah.
Yeah,
not
and
our
I
favorite
feel
part.
like they use the Little Mermaid a lot in a lot of stuff. Like there's a lot of Little Mermaid shows.
It's like one of those things where I say,
And
like,
I get you're at sea, mermaids, like it
It
ties
makes sense.
in, but like
but it's like
I'd like
if you're
something
gonna, I mean, Broadway doesn't ignore The Lion King, but if you're gonna ignore The Lion King as much as Disney chooses to, I mean, let's just not change it out for like The Little Mermaid.
one of the ships has a Lion King show.
Does it?
I forget which one, but yeah, like so some of the other ships, like there's a Tangled show, there's a Lion King show. The Treasure's getting Moana. I do find it interesting that some of those other ships have newer movies, and then The Wish is The Little Mermaid and Aladdin, which are like
1989 and 93, 94. Did that come out before or after The Lion King? I can't remember.
Before. I think
So
it was
93
Beauty and the
maybe?
Beast, yeah, Aladdin, Lion King. Yeah, so I think
Somebody
it was
can
93.
correct us because
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that they picked those. Now, Aladdin, absolutely love
Spectacular.
Aladdin.
You know-
Aladdin is great as a movie. It's great as a Broadway
Broadway.
musical. It's great as a show. It was great on the ship. I mean,
But-
that was the highlight, and I think it's good they ended on that one because you ended on a high note.
But the whole Friend Like Me sequence where the
Phenomenal.
genie then he duplicated himself, and these people came out in the creepiest genie masks you have ever seen.
I loved it. I want one.
I mean, oh my goodness. Like we all when the second one came out, we're all like, oh.
Jennifer gasps. I
She
mean, I
did.
heard her audibly gasp.
Yeah, I think we both did. We both audibly gasped because we're like, that is a horrifying mask. And then they just kept coming. Like all the dancers came out.
Oh, then there
with
was
those
one,
masks.
like one of the heads was on a plate, and I was like, oh
yes.
my, like that was.
Yeah, they uncovered it, and then it had that mask on a plate. So, that was some nightmare fuel. But at the same time, it was really kind of funny. And the way that they did it was cool. But it was just it was a funny prop because it was a very disconcerting type mask.
Yeah, the show was great. I do wonder, like, who writes the jokes?
Yeah.
Because some of the jokes were very topical. Mm-hmm.
Did he made a Taylor Swift joke at some point?
Yeah,
I
he
think.
made a lot of jokes. I mean, stuff that I don't think Disney would necessarily write. And the other thing is, like, they made a lot of references to, like, other Disney movies. Like the genie understands, like, the universe. It's kind of like Deadpool. Like, he understands he's in the MCU type thing. That always impresses me. Like, whenever they talk about other Disney movies, and it's kind of like, because Disney, I feel like they keep it so tight. Like, hey, you're Snow White. You don't like.
You don't know anybody else.
You don't know
yeah.
anybody else. And that's what, like, when we went to the Princess Breakfast at Napa Rose, and they were talking about Disneyland, I was like, whoa, hold up, what's going on? Like, they're talking about rides at Disneyland. And same with this, where they're talking about other Disney movies. It's like so refreshing to hear that, and it's funny, like, when they do that. But I wonder, like,
well,
who does that? Like, does the genie kind of get to write his own stuff?
Well, my favorite joke, and if you don't want to hear this because you might actually go on the
It could
or
be
maybe
different. I don't know.
maybe it's different.
Yeah.
But my favorite joke is the fact that we all were sitting there going, "Where's Abu? Where's Abu?" Because he's not in the show.
Yeah.
And then the genie made a joke about how Loki, messed up the universe.
He messed his timeline.
Yeah, he messed up the timeline, which is why Abu wasn't there. And I was like, okay, now I'm kind of okay with him not having Abu because he's just completely explained it away.
Right.
So,
oh yeah, it was great. But again,
we're in an alternate timeline.
And again, like, that only just now the Wish isn't that old, so, like, Loki's been around that long. But, like, yeah, it's kind of a more recent joke. But yeah, overall, I thought it was great. I will say we did sit up close for all of the shows, which is good because you can get up pretty close. The downside is they use a lot of smoke in these shows. Like, every show uses smoke multiple times, and you will get covered in it if you're in the first couple rows, to the point where you can't see a little bit like for a few seconds,
I mean,
but
it's not bad.
Yeah, but it's not bad. But if you're somebody that's like sensitive to that,
It would
don't
not be
sit
great.
in like the first 5 rows, I'd say, or try to like sit to the side a little bit. Because if you're like
Yeah, when
dead
we were on the
center,
side,
yeah,
it
too
wasn't
bad.
so bad.
But it pours out. The other thing I really liked about all of the shows is they use the aisles a lot.
Yeah,
Like-
we
like
never
they
really sat
come-
in the aisle.
They come off the stage so much where, even if you aren't in the front, you're going to have people running past you. They come off and like they're right in the front of the stage. At one point they were in the second story, like Jafar,
Jafar
was up
appeared
in the
second story.
Like they really use the space really well. And again, it's not something like if you go to a Broadway show, you're not used to that. I know Lion King does
The Lion
that.
King does that,
But
but
like
yeah,
most shows
most
don't.
of them do
Yeah.
not.
And you're not going to see that at a Disney park where they're like running through the aisles and everything. So I thought that was a really cool thing that like just like added a little extra to all the shows. And they do it in every show.
Right. The one thing that was kind of weird about that was that if you were going to see a show, there was a separate concession stand and they had popcorn and then you can also purchase drinks. And that to me felt weird because it's
This
like,
was frustrating.
yeah, you're like, I'm on a ship where, I don't expect my alcohol to be covered, but I do kind of expect that my
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are free. So like
Yeah.
all the food's free, but if you want
But-
if you get a soda at any of those, it's free.
it's free, but
But if you get a soda before a show or
It
some
costs you
popcorn,
money.
it costs money. Now I will say, it is not theme park prices because I got a soda and a popcorn. The soda was like $2.50, so it wasn't like you're paying
a ton of money.
$5 and the popcorn was like $3 or $4. So it wasn't bad in terms
But
of
at
pricing.
the same time,
but it's the principle
it kind
of
of
it.
should
Yeah.
be free. And then also, like, to me, like the soda selection on the ship was very bare bones.
Yeah, it was Coca-Cola.
It was
basic.
Coke. I think it was Coke, Diet Coke, vitamin water, and
like
Sprite.
Yeah.
And that and there was like I think it was either I think it was unsweetened iced tea, some sort of iced
Something.
tea. So that was it. Like the only place that they had anything different is when you get to Castaway Cay. There you also could get Powerade, which is a Coca-Cola product, and I was like, oh, where has this been the whole trip? Because I love blue Powerade. But yeah, to me that was, again, I don't let myself indulge in those things too often,
Yeah.
so I was like looking forward to it, and then I'm just like, oh, I don't really. It was minor, but still, I kind of wanted more bang for my buck there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned Castaway Cay, so let's touch on it briefly. Like I said, next week we'll get into Castaway Cay in a lot more detail because I think there's a lot to talk about there. But I mean, this is Disney's private island. You do one day there. I thought it was awesome. I actually thought it was the best part of the trip. Now, we did not get off the boat in Nassau because we had already been to Nassau, and since it was such a short trip, we wanted to spend
More
as
time
much
on the
time
ship.
exploring the ship, all that sort of stuff, which I think was a good move. But Castaway Cay was like hands down the highlight. Like if I would go back and do a Disney cruise in the Bahamas again, I would do it for the sole purpose of going back to Castaway Cay because there was so much to do, and you don't have, I mean, you can get off at like 8 and you have to be back on the ship by 4. So you can't even really get like a full day there. So there's definitely a lot to do where it's like you need to go back multiple times. I mean, Disney's great at this. Like you do enough that you have fun, but they don't give you enough time to really do everything. So you got to come back for the whole thing again. But that would be the reason I would go back.
Yeah. See, I have a different take on it, and I definitely can go back on it. We could talk about this a little bit more next week, but I think that if this is your private island, there's more you can do there, and I think that Disney does not utilize the space very well, like the 5K, like on paved trails, and there's certain things where I'm just like, you can put in a dirt trail. Like you could do something to make this, you could put in like little, statues on the side that you can get photos with. Like, I think that they need to really like times that, they need to plus it, because I think to me, it was like, this could be a carnival island. It doesn't, nothing about this screams Disney to me. And also for a company that does such a good job catering to children, there was no like adventure park in the water, which I kind of expected to see.
There was.
There was?
Yeah, there was that one section where they had out in the water, there was like an obstacle course and slides and all sort of stuff.
I completely missed that part. I was expecting like, how they have those like big floaty things.
They
sometimes.
didn't have that.
And
it was an actual like structure out in the water though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should have gone and checked that out. But again, we didn't have time because we did the 5K. We did We snorkeled and you know, we can get into that, like I said, next week. But I do think like the characters that were out, they were only out for a short period of time. And so I think that they could make that experience a little less stressful because
and they aren't using most of the island. I think that they've only developed like 50 of like the 1,000 acres of it. So to your point, like there's more space they could use. If
there
they
is. And even to me though, that they probably aren't even probably allowed to develop a certain amount of the island. There's probably a certain amount of like conservation.
I don't know about that. I don't know if they have anything like that. But that's
yeah,
a good point.
but I mean, I don't necessarily think they need to encroach on that part of it, but I do think that they can make it feel like you're out in the wild more, you know?
I guess. I also think you got to look at it. Most people come in with families. Again, there's not a ton of time. You're going to go to the beach. You're going to play in the water. Like, yes, we did the 5K. Yes, there's some other stuff to do, but how many people are really doing that? You know, if 10% of the people, 5% of the people on every ship do it, is it worth putting money in to make special roads? You know, that I think that sort of thing. Because the 5K is shared with like the bike trail.
Yeah.
And then there's probably a lot more people doing the bikes than running. But
yeah.
I'm not sure. Some tips before we kind of get into the food here. Just kind of like general thoughts and tips to have a good Disney cruise. So I think one thing is go with friends. So we did go with friends. And I think that made the experience better. Not that I don't like you, but I do feel like if it was you and me, again,
we could have gotten bored, I think.
Yeah, and the first couple days, it took me a few days to kind of like settle into it. And it was somewhat stressful of like, I feel like I'm not seeing the outside. Like the ship's like, how do I get out of here? Where do I go? And I do feel like you could have gotten through things and just, it would have been too much. So I think it was good to have friends there where it was like every night we were going to dinner, we were Disney bounding, and like our outfits were coordinated. So like it just made it a lot more fun.
I agree. And I mean, so we actually went because it had to do with the Halcyon. So it was a Star Cruiser, basically like a big meetup from a lot of people. So the couple that we met on our first voyage, Jennifer and Kiefer, we went with them. But then also there were other couples and other people that we had met previously, like Nicole and Brian, like we met them.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that we knew there.
You know, we got a chance to see them again. And that just made it really special because, like you said, I like you, but it just, you know, times it by more because we were comfortable with the people we were around. So it was like we were able to kind of feed off of that energy from them, and it just made it more fun. Like the pirate party would not have had as much fun if it was just you, because again, you know.
Yeah, and the pirate party was a little short, but I mean the other thing, like with that, like the pirate party, like we dressed up for that. We dressed up every night for dinner, and we'll get into the restaurant, so you know, kind of theming with that. But that's the other thing, like you don't have to go too crazy, but I would definitely recommend at least dress up for the pirate party. Bring something that's kind of a pirate outfit, because whether you're Disney bounding or whether you're kind of just like dressing up, even I mean in 1923, a lot of people dress up in like
1920s
outfits. So again, that's not even Disney related. Now you can make it Disney.
Bound it.
Yeah, you can bound it. We'll kind of get into that, but do that, because again, it just like the more you can do, I feel like, to kind of make it a little bit special, make it fun, it's going to make it more memorable. Again, they have nice photo backdrops. Like there's good photographers there, so you're going to get good pictures. Even if you take pictures with your cell phone, I mean, there's a lot of like good places to take pictures and stuff. So that's another tip, is like, don't worry about, you know, if you're somebody that's like, I don't know, like how am I going to look? Like you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to be fine. Like you're going to get complimented.
Yeah, our
you're not
waiter,
going to stand out. Like it's going to be great.
Our waiter complimented us on our outfits.
Yeah.
I think at least one of the nights.
Yeah.
So yeah, people notice, and I don't know, it just made it more fun, and we got some pretty cool pictures. And again, the characters always react to when you
because there's tons of characters. Yeah, I mean Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Chip and Dale, they're out every night a lot. I mean, they're only out for like 10 minutes at a time, but they come out pretty frequently, so it's pretty easy to get your picture with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're really good at
we
like,
made
reactions.
that a priority this trip, which is part of the reason why we didn't get to do some of the other things that we wanted to do. but I also just wanted to see them
And they're
dressed in their cute outfits.
Unique outfits. I mean, it's Captain Minnie, Captain Mickey.
They're
in their pirate outfits.
They're in their sailor suits like Donald and Goofy.
On Castaway Cay, we happened to be there like the weekend the new outfits showed up.
That was crazy.
And we didn't even know that until like we came back.
When
and
we
like,
came
it's the
home,
new outfits.
When we came home, there was a social media post about it, and we're like, oh, I guess that this was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it came out like a day or two before our cruise. And
no, I think it came out. Wow. I mean, I think that was like the first weekend that they were open.
Yeah. I mean, it probably was like the second or third day that ships that were going to that island were seeing those outfits. I mean, Minnie's outfit was so cute, and Goofy like rocketed up in my favorites list as far as like favorite characters, because his outfit is so choice and his bucket hat is so amazing. They were really, really awesome, and it was fun to see them.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to say is fish extenders.
Oh, yeah.
So this is something I don't think we got into it with Becky. I think we talked to her after we were done recording about fish extenders. But if you don't know what a fish extender is, the original ships had like a fish outside your door. Now they're
different creatures, at least on
the Wish.
On the Wish.
Yeah, they're a little bit different.
So depending on which floor you're on, they're different things. I think
related to princesses.
I believe were we owls?
Yeah.
So we were like the owl. I think it was from Winnie the Pooh. It looked kind of like the Winnie the Pooh owl, but
I think it was like I think they're all princess themed.
Yeah, so it was something. So we had an owl, and I think there were other. You did the fish. Most of our people
were all on,
on different floors.
Yeah, but basically what it is outside your door. There's something hanging there, and so you hang basically like a pocket to like give gifts. And
it's like a stocking.
Yeah,
like almost
kind of.
almost like the idea of a stocking.
Yeah. And then like on Facebook or something, like you get a group, hey, these people are going on the trip, and then you get in groups of like 5 or 6 people or whatever, and then every night you give like little gifts. And it's not anything like crazy monetary value. I mean, but it's little Disney things, and it's just a fun little thing to do, because every time we came back to our room, there was stuff in there. So it's like, oh, let's see what it is. It's some stickers or magnets or all sorts of stuff. A lot of it was like Star Cruiser themed stuff, which was awesome. A lot of friendship bracelets.
Yeah.
I mean, we made friendship bracelets, and then we got friendship bracelets. Taylor Swift mania is everywhere. Everybody's Swifties. But it's a lot of fun. And then you give gifts to other people. So I definitely would recommend like doing that, or trying to, get in a fish extender group. Also, everybody covers their doors in magnets, so buy magnets, put magnets on your doors. Really get into it, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's one of those. I feel like it's one of those things you kind of get out of it what you put into it, but it would be a thing that if you weren't aware of these things going in, you'd be like, whoa, there's a whole level of fun that I didn't even know existed that I could have engaged. Like you might have like not
That's
FOMO, but you'll feel like you missed out.
Yeah, I thought about that, like walking past people that didn't have magnets on their doors, and I'm like, is this your first cruise and you didn't know about it? Or
that would be actually a really nice...
like, have you been on cruise and you're like, I'm not here for that part of it? Because to your point, it's like, yeah, if you're going on it and this is your first cruise and nobody told you about fish extenders or magnets or any sort of that, thing, you might come on and be like, oh, what am I missing?
Well, that is something, that I think that in the future, because I do think that this particular cruise, I think at least my feeling was it wasn't the best, but I think it's because it was such a short duration, and also, we weren't necessarily we were interested in the ship. We weren't interested in the destinations as much. So if like we went to say like Alaska, which is a place that we do want to go to a lot, I think that a really great fish extender would be magnets, because we didn't receive a lot of those, but if somebody didn't bring magnets, for example, but they did the fish extender stuff, like you could do that. And also another thing people did, which I wasn't anticipating so much, was there were a lot of people that brought enough stuff that like they would do meetups. Now again, this could have been because it was Star Cruiser related.
Yeah, there was separate meetups for that.
There was, but it still was nice because people actually brought a lot of extra stuff and then were passing it out, which I wasn't really quite I didn't quite realize people were going to do that, or else I might have
brought some stuff.
Yeah, we would have brought stuff.
We did get a few magnets though.
Yeah, we got a couple magnets, but it is something like if you gave me a magnet or a sticker, and they're basically the same thing.
Yeah, magnets are help. Yeah,
magnets would be really nice, and then you could use those in the future if you go on future Disney cruises.
Another pro tip, and Jennifer and Kiefer told us about this, but the whole room's magnetic.
Yeah.
So you can bring like magnetic hooks
Yeah.
to hang stuff up, and you can just put them anywhere in the room.
Yeah, they put it on the ceiling.
Well,
Like,
yeah, we told them to.
Yeah.
This is a joke, but yeah.
Yeah, but like that was kind of, I mean, the whole room, because they're just lifted in, like they're basically storage containers.
They're like modular. So
yeah.
But we'll get into like kind of overall thoughts here in a little bit. But I want to touch on the food. So there's like a buffet, like Marceline Market, and then there's also kind of some food stations. I thought Marceline Market was really good. We ate there for breakfast and lunch. I actually thought that was like the best food on the ship.
Some of the best food, yeah.
So they had things like grilled chicken, rigatoni, rice, broccoli. I mean, at breakfast, they had like eggs, waffles. The hash browns were great. They had salmon at breakfast.
They had tikka masala. They also had veggie samosas. So you
the
had
desserts too, of like they had carrot cake. The mousse was great.
Yeah,
it was great.
It was just like there was a variety of food there, and again, you know, I always feel like those kinds of places work really well for you and I, because you eat more like
different tastes,
American style. Like you're more of a burger person or grilled chicken person, whereas I'm like, where's the Indian food, or where? Because I tend to eat. Again, I do eat meat, but I tend to eat a lot of like vegetarian choices as well, and so it's nice. It was
a good mix.
Yeah, like I was able to kind of mix and match that up, and get some protein, but then also kind of keep my normal sort of diet.
Yeah, and then on the pool deck they had pizza, barbecue, ice cream, tacos. Those were some things they had there.
The pool deck was not my favorite place to eat. I thought that it was.
Yeah, I thought
fine.
the market was better.
Yeah, it was okay.
The other thing that I was kind of surprised by, and again, this might be on every cruise ship, I don't know, but like every restaurant you go to, or even like the market, which was a buffet, they had hand washing stations. I mean, they had sinks with soap and water to wash your hands. The dinners they gave
and
you,
they want you to wash your hands, because there were a couple times where we got ready before dinner and then used the restroom, and I'm like, okay, my hands were literally just washed 2 seconds ago.
But that's the thing. I mean, like cruise ships,
it's for optics, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I mean cruise ships are very. Like that happens a lot where like people get sick on, you hear stories of that all the time of like illness is spreading, but yeah, or they have like hand wipes before dinner and stuff like that, which again, I was just kind of surprised, but I liked it. I was like, hey, good opportunity to like wash your hands and stuff, like be clean. So the first night we ate at Arendelle, and there's rotational dining. So we had the same server with us every night, which is nice. So to your point of like, he complimented us, but cause he like knew who we were, which is helpful. So it's Arendelle. I was a little bit let down by this in terms of the show. I thought it was going to be Anna, Elsa, Kristoff, which they're in it. Olaf, they come out in it, but they sing like
and Oaken was.
Oh yeah, Oaken like leads it. We didn't have a great Oaken, but like like the main characters, they sing like one song maybe. It's they have like people from Arendelle singing the songs of like the tales of them, and it was like, I wasn't expecting that. If I thought they were going to come out and sing, or at least like if they weren't singing, be out in the crowd more, but they didn't sing much, and they walked through the crowd so quickly, like you had to like get a picture of them like walking
while
by.
They were moving. Like, and that was, and you kind of just skipping ahead a little bit to contrast that with the Marvel dining. Spider-Man. Sorry, spoiler alert, but Spider-Man does come out and like go around at the end. He does not spend much time with you, but there is time, and he poses
stops and
with
takes
you.
A picture every
and
table.
To me, that's what that Arendelle Dining needed, because we were dressed. So this, kind of, you talked about this earlier. We dressed that night. I have the Anna ears, and
you
then
were Anna, I was
dressed.
Yep.
And then Jennifer and Kiefer. Kiefer was not Oaken, Olaf, and Jennifer was Elsa. And so I kind of wanted, like it would be cool if we got photos with them. And that wasn't an opportunity, and they like kind of came through so quickly that you couldn't even really barely snap a photo of them. And so that was off for me. And then like kind of like you mentioned, like the Oaken, his Oaken accent was way off, and he was like very like high pitch and almost squealy. So I had a hard time kind of listening to him talk. But yeah, it was a lot of him and like Kristoff singing the song, like Anna and Elsa's songs. And I didn't want to hear them. Like I wanted to hear Anna and Elsa.
Right. Yeah. It was an odd show. For the food, I had salmon with vegetables and rice, and I learned like, you can order whatever you want. I mean, you can order like 4 appetizers.
Oh, yeah.
You order 2 desserts.
I
and stuff.
exercise that every dinner.
Yeah, but like the amount of food you get is very small. Like they say vegetables, and I feel like, I mean, one night, I don't know if it was at Arendelle or somewhere else, I got like 1 piece of broccoli and 1 piece of cauliflower, and like that was the vegetable. So, it's like, hey, you get vegetables, but like you get 2 of them type thing. So.
And I will say, I mean,
I thought the food was
said
okay.
to the waiter, like, hey, I really like this broccoli, could I please have like a plate of broccoli? I'm sure they would have brought it for you.
Well, I do feel like too, the first night, the wait staff was kind of learning you. It seemed like they were rushed. Like it was very slow. Like the service wasn't great the first night. Like he wasn't coming around very often. Like we were there for over an hour and a half. Like that was a very long dinner, and I was worried, like, is it going to be like this every night? But it wasn't. So to your point, even if I wanted more, like there really wasn't an opportunity to order it.
Yeah.
I thought the food was okay. Like you had like
I think it was called lofsy.
But then you also had like an appetizer was like a puff pastry thing.
So it was like a scallop it was a scallop soup, and so there was 1 scallop in the bottom, and then there was a puff pastry over top. The pastry itself was really good. The scallop was fine. So like that was interesting, but the lofsy might have been one of my favorite things that I ate. It was a vegetarian dish, and it had like a crust over top of it. It was really tasty. I liked it a lot. So, I mean, I thought the food was decent. I thought the desserts, I believe, for that meal weren't super good. Because, again, I ordered like 2 to 3 desserts every night.
Yeah, I don't know that any of the desserts really blew me away, except the second night in 1923, because I got a Mickey bar. And they brought it out on a fancy plate. So that was good. That was a good dessert. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like the other nights, I mean, the desserts were decent. I think all of the food overall was solid. I don't know that anything really blew me away. Again, the Marceline Market, the buffet, I thought that was the best. I thought that had the best food.
Well, you're in 1923. You got a steak.
I did.
Pretty good.
That was very good. So, yeah, so 1923 was our second night. We did dress up in 1923 kind of flapper, gangster clothes, but we did it Star Wars themed.
So, yeah, mine was like subtle. So I was wearing all black, and then I had some red accents, so I was Darth Vader.
Yeah, and I was just all white suit, hat. I was a stormtrooper.
And then you had a stormtrooper tie, and there was like a black accent on your fedora.
Yep.
So, we were pretty cute.
Yeah, but that's, again, you're kind of all dressed up there. I did have the 1923 peppered filet mignon. I thought that was delicious. So to your point, you're right. I mean, that was probably, in terms of dinner, that was the best dinner. It was like really well seasoned. The steak was great. Again, just very small. Like there wasn't a lot there. It comes with a potato hash, which is basically just like a mashed potato cube. Like I was wondering, like, oh, I wonder what this is gonna be. And it's basically just like a mashed potato cube. But it was good. And again, I think that was when I had the vegetables, and it was just like 1 piece of broccoli. So I thought it was really good. I just wish there would have been more of it.
Yeah, my favorite thing that I got from that place was an appetizer. It was the 4 cheese tortelloni. And you got literally 4 tortellini, like 4 little tortellinis, and it was in some sort of green sauce. I thought it was really tasty. Not really even like a big tortellini person, but I thought it was really good. So if I were to go back again, I would probably order like 2 of those, and then not so much of the food. I can't remember what I had that night, but it doesn't really stick out.
You had the Moroccan spiced
kabocha,
yeah.
And I really don't, like, I literally remember nothing about it, but I think it was probably good.
Again, it was all solid. And then the last night we ate at the Worlds of Marvel. So at 1923, there's no show, just dinner. So I think that helps it go a little bit quicker too. The last night, the Worlds of Marvel, there is a show, and it's a very like disjointed show. So it's Ant-Man and the Wasp. They come on, and then they go away. And then like 20 minutes later, they come on, and something like it's, instead of just having like a show, it's kind of like back and forth, which is cool. There's some interactive features to it, but
they do it so that your server basically can come out, do the serving, and then it kind of happens when there's a lull. So I did like that about it. It's so that it wasn't, because I felt like that was what they were trying to do at Arendelle, but it didn't quite work out.
Yeah, it definitely worked better at
it worked
Marvel.
better at Marvel.
But it is a little bit of like, okay, something's happening, something's not. And again, don't want to get into like spoilers and what happens, but obviously things go wrong. There is some interactive features. You did mention Spider-Man comes out at the end for photos. So that was nice. I had the sirloin steak there. Again, it was good. Definitely 1923 was better. You had a bunch of like appetizers and stuff.
Yeah, so I had the sauteed cremini and oyster mushrooms, which I thought was really delicious. I'm a big fan of like mushrooms. It was a vegetarian dish, which it tasted like it was in some sort of like beef bouillon, but I guess it was something that they used as a substitute. It was really tasty. I also had the hearts of palm with cilantro and lime. That was fine. It wasn't that good. And also I had the shiitake and tofu udon noodles, which to me, it was way salty. I should have just put some water in it. I realized I was going through the motions of eating more of it than I probably even needed to. And I eventually like, I just stopped. I looked over at Jennifer and I was like, oh, she didn't eat a lot of hers. Maybe I could just not eat all of this and save room for dessert. So that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, you can order so much food. You can order kind of whatever you want. So, all right. So let's kind of give like some like finishing thoughts, overall thoughts, ratings here. A couple of things we didn't touch on. So the AquaMouse, we got to ride that. It's a different cartoon every day.
Yeah. And so we didn't realize that.
Well, I knew that.
Well,
I knew it was different every day. I was 99% certain it was different every day. But I mean, it's a really short ride.
It's very short.
Like, I don't know that if it was a long line, I don't know that it's really worth that you got to see every cartoon. Well, like, look it up on YouTube to see which ones you missed. But like, the ride's a letdown.
The problem for me with it is because, and this is maybe where I'll combat what we said about, well, so much of the ship is indoors. Well, it's because you're on the ocean and there's breezes. So when you're up at the AquaMouse waiting in line, it's really breezy and cold. So by the time you get on the AquaMouse, you're like freezing and then you get wet on top of that. So it doesn't really make for a super enjoyable experience overall. And like you said, it is really short. I do like the cartoons. They're very cute. I'm a huge fan of like the newer Mickey cartoons.
It's like a minute and a half, maybe even, of a cartoon, and then like 10 seconds of a ride. Like in terms of like they make a big deal. It's an attraction at sea. It's the first attraction at sea. It's not like that great of like a water slide. I mean, it's not that exciting.
Well, the funny part is we passed. I think it was a Carnival ship when we were, I think it was on the ocean, and we looked across and we're like, whoa, they have like a ropes course.
No, that was when we were docked.
Was that when we were docked?
Yeah, that was when we were docked.
Yeah, we're like, they have a ropes course over there. They have crazy slides. We're like,
yeah,
dude, this is Disney. Why don't they have this?
A lot of the other Disney ships some of them have mini golf. Some of them have like basketball courts and things.
I think all of the other ones, somebody said, have mini golf.
Yeah, and this one doesn't. So it was odd. So again, and that's where, kind of for me, like, it definitely got better as time went on, but at first I was like, I don't know that I like this, and I'm like, I don't know if I just don't like cruises or whatever.
You know what I do like though?
What's that?
The fact that the ship rocks, and when you go to sleep, it's just like being rocked to sleep. That was really great. The first night, I mean, we were booking it, and it was like, sometimes it was like you were intoxicated because you'd be walking you couldn't walk in a straight line very well.
It'd be going pretty quick.
As the days went on, like the second and third day, I really didn't feel much.
Because we weren't going as fast. But yeah, so I wasn't sure. It's like, hey, do I not like cruises? Is it Disney cruises? What is it? But it got better as time went on. But I do think some of that stuff would have been better. So it's like, again, like, was it just the ship? So I kind of left it, and now that it's been a few weeks and some time, like, I do find myself being like, man, I really do want to go back to Castaway Cay because I didn't get to do X, Y, and Z. Like, that was a lot of fun. Or to your point, like, I would like to take another one because I think some of it was too short and we didn't have enough time. And like, I'd like to see another ship because, again, maybe I'll like one of the other ships better because there is mini golf and there is basketball. Like, there's just other like recreational stuff to do. And so, or, it's going to a place I haven't been before. So I kind of, like, after the first night, was like, I don't know that I ever need to be on another cruise ever again. But by the end of it, I did enjoy it. And again, now, like, kind of looking back on it later, because I think, again, it ended well. It ended with Aladdin. Like, there's fireworks at sea. Like, it builds up well, and you kind of get, you kind of get more comfortable with it, that you do look back on it fondly, and you go, I would like to try this again,
Yeah.
but I want to try something different because maybe I'll like it better.
And I do think that, some of my knocks on the cruise where I'm like, oh, I don't know that I feel like I accomplished a lot. Like we went to one trivia. We went to two trivias actually.
We won
But
the first
we
trivia.
won the
though.
first because it was Disney Parks trivia.
Crushed it.
By the
Crushed
way,
it.
we did an episode on Roy Disney, and their question was about how Roy E. Disney.
We're like, no, it's Roy O.
And we're
It's
like,
Roy
it was
O.
a true or false. And we were like, no, it's Roy O. I'm pretty sure it's Roy O because we did this episode and we were right.
Yep.
Like a lot of people missed that one because they didn't realize that Roy E was the son, not the
But
brother.
we crushed Disney Parks.
Yeah,
trivia.
we did really well on that one. So
And then we did a Star Wars one, which again, there was a lot of Star Wars fans there, and I knew we weren't going to do it.
Oh,
And it was
yeah.
advanced Star Wars trivia, and
there were questions,
they
and I'm
started
like,
saying
I don't know who
names
any of these characters even are.
and planets I'd never heard of.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I mean, I've watched most of the Star Wars content, and I think I knew like 2 answers.
You have to it was like the video games. I mean, you had to know everything.
You had to know so much. But again, I mean, Reese, who was the same guy who did our trivia, like he's a big he's a huge Star Wars fan, and he just did a really nice job. He doesn't write the questions, but he did a really nice job.
There
with
was
it.
a Marvel trivia we didn't get a chance to do just because timing didn't work out. But I kind of wanted to go to see, like, I think I know Marvel well, but do I really know Marvel
Well, yeah,
well?
because then you're like, is it Marvel or is it like comic book Marvel?
But I feel like I kind of know enough about the comic books because the movies like play off the comic books, and then people talk about like, oh, in the comic books they did this instead of that.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of wanted to see how well I would do. So that's why we need to go back.
But I do think like, so for me, so kind of I think back to my original comment is we spent a lot of time on the trip because we were like, I don't know if we're ever going to be on another Disney cruise, spending time like getting ready for photos or like changing outfits or, like I typically when I'm on vacation, I do like very like minimalistic makeup unless, I know that I want to get like a lot of photos. So I was spending a lot of time on hair and makeup and stuff. So I think that like if we went back again, I would maybe do that a couple times, like once or twice.
not all the time.
But not all the time. So I'm like, the reason why you necessarily didn't enjoy some of the aspects is your own fault, not their fault.
Right.
Now, I will say like I do appreciate photos because my memories, particularly my memory, like dull in time. So whenever you
Again,
have
you look
those
back
photos,
on it fondly. Yeah,
then
you
you
see
can
all that,
see
yeah.
like, oh, this is like what we did and like how we looked and how we dressed up. So, and then it'll bring those memories of the experiences back. So that is part of the reason why I did prioritize that so much. But next time I probably, like I said, would do that less so just to get a little bit more time to do like trivia or take advantage of our spa passes that I only used one time. So yes, but like overall, I thought it was a good experience.
Yeah, and then just kind of like leaving the ship, and so this is again another aspect where I feel like there was very little information. So I did find out on the app, it kind of explains how to disembark and kind of the process, but luckily we happened to be going back to our room when Jolix was there, and he's like, are you going to leave your luggage out? And we're like, what are you talking about? Because I was wondering that, like, how do we get your luggage off? How's that sort of stuff happening? Because there was no information on like what time we have to leave. Like we had Disney transportation back to the airport, and it was like, what time do we have to be there? How does this all work? So I actually went down and asked guest services about the transportation because there was no information on that. But he was like, oh, you have to have your luggage out by
10:30.
By 10:30 the night before. And we're like, and it was like 9 or something like that. And we were like, oh, I'm glad you said something.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we wouldn't have known. So yeah, luggage has to be out 10:30 the night before. And then, like I said, I asked about the bus, and I'm glad I did because what they do is wherever you eat at the last night, they schedule you for breakfast the following morning. And our breakfast was scheduled at like 8:15. And so I went down and asked them, I said, hey, by the way, I have the Disney transportation back to the airport. How does that work? And they're like, well, you leave. Buses are constantly leaving. But the last bus is at 9:00 and we recommend you give yourself 45 minutes to leave because you have to go through immigration. You have to get your bags that they took off the boat and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, well, we have breakfast at 8:15. And they're like, yeah, you can't go to that. So we went to the buffet, which was great because the breakfast food is basically the same anywhere you go.
I would have liked, because our breakfast would have been at what, Marvel?
Marvel, yeah. But it was going to be the same stuff because what we had at 1923 was very similar to what they have at the buffet. So I think Marvel would have been similar, but it's like they don't tell you that. Like we could have went to breakfast and then left and been like, oh, all the buses are gone.
Yeah, that would have not been good. I mean, I do think, yeah, there was definitely a lot of those moments. And again, if you're going, I don't know, that just needs to be better, because they need to let you know, because it does create frustration. Because for me, you know, we were with our friends, and if they were not kind enough to say, hey, we're going to get up early on our last day of our vacation that we could sleep in and hang out with you guys and go to your breakfast, and then we'll go to breakfast after, like we wouldn't have known till late, and then we would have like not been able to connect up on that last day. So that was really frustrating for me, because I was like, you know, we would have missed out on that final connection. So,
yeah, I was expecting something like in the old days of Magical Express, where the night before
you get a slip.
You got something slipped under your door that says,
me too.
Hey, your bus is coming at this time. This is what you need to go. I was kind of expecting that, of something under your door of, hey, luggage has to be out by this time. You're taking the Disney transportation. Yep. You have to pick it up by 9:00. You know, like that's the last bus. And so, you know, again, when you see, okay, the last bus is at 9:00, obviously 8:15 is not going to work. Like having some of that information. So, and again, I don't know if that was just us and you know, wires got crossed and nobody notified us about anything, and other people did get notified. But that was one thing where it's like, we kind of had to figure it out. And luckily, we were lucky enough that either somebody said something, or again, I went and asked to figure it out. But otherwise, you could just be like oblivious to it and then miss your bus. You know, like stuff could happen. So
right, yeah, I think that you being proactive in that, like if it would have been me, I would have been like up a creek, because
you'd still be in Florida.
Well, that don't say that, because that's not a punishment. That's more of a reward. Be like, oh darn, sorry, I live here now with the gators. So yeah, I agree. It just wasn't super well communicated, but I do feel like there was an illusion. I can't remember who said it to you. I think it might have been when you went to guest services, and somebody, like when you asked the question, they're like, you haven't been notified about this.
Yeah.
So it did seem like there might have been
surprised.
some like wires crossed as far as like we were supposed to get something, but I do feel like there was like they didn't have like all of our information or something, just like how we didn't get luggage tags. So I don't know if we flew under the radar or something, but yeah.
Exactly. So, but again, overall, I think we both enjoyed it. Would definitely go on another Disney cruise. I think just kind of potentially a different itinerary. Want to see a different ship, what some of the other ships have to offer. So that wraps up our show for this week. Again, next week we will take a deep dive into Castaway Cay. So make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you're first to be notified about that. But want to thank everybody again for listening. Please leave us a rating or a review. It really helps, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks for lending us your ears.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you here next Monday.
Bye-bye.